Well, hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Be True. I'm Frady, and today we're going to jump in and talk with Philip Frady. Yes, there is a relation. He is my brother, and we're going to be talking about music festivals, and we're also going to be talking about songwriting. And he is very, very deeply involved in these. He actually has his own music festivals, and growing up, he was always on the other side of the wall from me, so I would hear him endlessly songwrite and be songwriting all the time into the late hours of the night. So I wanted to take a time to interview him, to talk with him about what that's like, and just how you can get connected if you yourself are interested in songwriting and getting involved in all these sorts of things. So, Philip, can you go ahead and start us off by sharing a little bit about your background in music and kind of what led you to starting this music festival and a little bit about that music festival?
Yeah. Um, where it all started. Well, our parents were uh they always from a young age they wanted us to be able to learn music, and the first instrument was piano, which today is still definitely my main instrument. And I don't really know where the songwriting idea came from. I didn't It didn't start out by saying, "Oh wow, that performer was really cool. I want to do that one day." It started out more of a I just thought of melodies and thought it was cool to write them down and turn them into something that I thought was kind of cool. So I guess just sitting down on my piano and just playing a few things, and then that turned into recording voice memos on my DSi and using like the remix tab just to try out and different sounds and stuff. And then
Not the
after
DSI.
that, and then after that, um I had a computer, and it wasn't connected to like internet or anything, but we would like buy CDs and download the album onto our iTunes, um I would like make copies of songs and mix mash songs together by like it was super complicated, but this is what I had, so that's what I did. And then after that, I got a iPhone that had GarageBand on it, and I used that for a little bit. And then finally one day you we were both students in college, and you saw there's like a discount on Logic, and you had talked me into it, and we downloaded that, and that's what I use now to this day. And each step of the way there's a little bit of a confusion. There's like a learning stage, and that definitely stunts the growth of doing what you want to do. um, which is true for songwriting, but true for a lot of different things. It's like if you want to progress, there's like a level of things that slow you down. So it's super simple to just sit down and sit at the piano, turn on voice memos, and record something, because you hear like this melody in your head and you hear all these instruments in your head, and you just try to track it. And then when you switch over from something so simple to something like Logic, and you spend half of your time just trying to find a sound. A lot of the things will get lost in that process of trying to find. You're trying to track the melody, but you want it to sound like how it sounds in your head. So you're spending 30 minutes trying to figure out what sound it is, and then you're just hoping and praying that the rest of the song doesn't fall flat as you're looking for that. But at the end of the day, my first week on Logic is a lot different story than where it is now. First week in Logic, it was like would get so aggravated because I would have a cool song idea, try to track it, and I was so new to the program. It was like it was such a learning curve, but it's like it's worth the sacrifice of learning something new, because now I can write songs faster than that. But it's like you have to take a small step back before you take a oh, hey Google, turn the lights on.
They thought you were out of the room.
My Google shut me out. Boring story. So I guess that's the end of it. I was done with that part anyway. So the audience has spoken.
I think we do. We should have that segment. We should have that feature around. It's like if something's going boring or someone's like move on, like get them the ability to be able to turn off the lights or something like that. So no, I think I do remember. I don't remember the DSI stuff recording too much. Thinking back, I kind of remember one setting where you're like in the car messing with it. I think you and Isaac used to both do that a little bit. I was like, what in the world is this about? But what I really remember is like for the longest time, and this is like years and years and years, where you would be on GarageBand on your phone. And like it was so like the way you figured out how to do stuff on there. I'm like, bro, this is like I don't know how you are creating these sounds. Like you probably have used GarageBand way beyond, way beyond the place that it needed to ever be used. You know what I'm saying? It's like you've used it way beyond the capability it actually provides. And I
Yeah.
do think that we each get it's easy to get discouraged based off of being limited on what you have, you know, or jumping into something that you have no idea what to do. Because I remember I got interested with just being able to, like, I don't even know. I just wanted to figure out how to be able to plug up a microphone or an instrument to a computer. I just wanted to be able to know how to do that if I ever want to track something or put something out. But just the frustration of not having anybody to teach you and you just had to jump into that program yourself, I think it's pretty hard just jumping into it by yourself. But once you're able to get past that point, or you're able to find somebody that's there to help you get through it, that's there to help you be able to learn the thing, that actually makes the process a lot faster and
Hmm.
lets the utility be a lot better. So for you, jumping over to Logic just probably just opened up like millions of different avenues that you probably were hoping that GarageBand would have, but with it being a free Apple product and Logic being more of the Logic Pro X being more of the paid, here's everything that you kind of would need type deal, definitely opened up a lot more avenues about it. So as far as the background in music and songwriting goes, I know you've spent countless hours and with that, and then you decided to start this music festival. I'll let you talk about that in a second. But go ahead and tell me how many songs did you think that you wrote by time you actually got an itch to, like, you know what, let's do this thing.
To perform,
Yeah, to perform.
the first ever song that I performed was the youth band Christmas concert that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really like a really extremely basic um, song that I put together. It wasn't even at the time. It wasn't like my favorite, but I thought it fit with the Christmas theme. It's probably the only Christmas song that I actually have finished, and so and that would have been like I want to say like 4 years before 3 or 4 years before even the main first time I performed, which it was more of a set. That was just I sung a song and we all performed it, but we were performing a lot of, a lot of covers. But I mean, it's a worship band, so it's not really covers.
Mm-hmm.
We were just doing like a Christmas performance. Um, yeah, I remember at the time, before anything turned to anything, Jonathan Grizzle, a friend of ours growing up, still to this day, but he got into writing a lot, and he wanted to perform some of his stuff. I don't remember even how he found out that I wrote because I'm still not the best at posting my stuff on like Instagram or social media. I'm actually really working hard trying to get something on Spotify this year. Um,
All right.
but yeah, I guess a little bit more on that later. But anyway, yeah, he asked me to choose 3 songs to open for him, and the reason I say that in relation to how many songs I had written at the time is because I remember, um, there weren't many songs to pick from that I had recorded for this. Um, I think I ended up writing one specifically for it because, I had, I'd say I probably had maybe 12 songs finished at the time, and over half of them were like not like an experimental cool way, like experimental in a weird way of just trying to figure out, um, when you first start writing and, becoming a performer, even if you know what your genre is, it takes you a while to figure out your voice, and that's, like, literal, like, your actual how you're gonna sing it, but then that's also, not as literal, more so as your sound. What is your music gonna feel like? What's it gonna sound like?
Also
And as
your
everyone
style.
starts off, you can listen to, like, I mean, odd example, but like Imagine Dragons, they had an album before they were like a record label, and it sounded like circus music, like really like a musical circusy kind of like really odd. They had a few songs that you could tell, oh, that's them today, and that's like tons of artists, like 21 Pilots, tons of artists. You listen to their early YouTube videos, they're either sticking to covers or their first set of songs. So a lot of mine was in that genre of like I knew it wasn't my voice yet, so trying to pick 3 songs out of the ones I had written that I felt really represented where I was going well was tough. So I had 2 songs that I liked a lot. One of them is Make Believe, which is probably the first song that I finished and recorded on GarageBand that I was really proud of. I liked how it went.
Hmm.
The lyrics for it I still like to this day. And then had another song, and then I wrote one specifically for the performance. Um, yeah, so not a lot of songs.
Yeah. If I recall correctly, there were several times where you would. I think it's been about every single music festival that you've written a song for the festival, and it's kind of a way of also pushing you forward in your creativity and saying, "Hey, you know what? We have a deadline for this here. I need to learn something else right here."
Hmm.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about the festival itself. So, in your vision for it. So, we kind of talked about that a little bit about why it started and how has it evolved a little bit over time.
Yeah, it started out like I said, Jonathan Grizzle. He started writing and he wanted to perform um, a few of his songs, and he knew I wrote. And then there was this other guy that he wrote a song. It was like a friend of a friend situation. We didn't really know him, but he knew he wrote. And when you're younger, that's like really cool because there's not a lot of people our age in my circle. I don't want to say like we're
Mm-hmm. About
like pioneers or anything
how
like
old
at
were you? Were
all.
you in high school, middle school?
When the first one came out,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to say I was in high school. Um, we're doing our, so it's been 7 years. So yeah, I was in high school still. Um, so Jonathan asked me to perform for it. I was like, yeah, it's cool. Super timid at the time. I have a video of the first performance, and I was sitting behind the piano like the entire time. And I still try to be creative. I just knew that I wasn't going to perform. Like I think it was the first one. Maybe it's the second one. We did like musical chairs or something. I don't even think the first one, but yeah, I got up there performed. Super nervous, super awkward. My vocals were okay. It wasn't like I had any major. It's just I was younger, so my vocals weren't as mature. Um, but yeah, as soon as we finished performing and we had like a few people signing up and showing up, I was like, I don't know. I remember going up to him after. I was just like, this could be something that we do like year round.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was the me committing to something and saying it out loud because I didn't want to be that to be the last time I perform. And for me, it's like cool ideas. If you keep them to yourself, it's like you don't have anyone to keep you accountable.
Well,
So I made sure,
you had a birth of a vision or kind of a dream of like,
yeah,
hey, like let's keep this going. This is something that I like to do, right?
yeah,
That's where the inception of that was, I guess,
hmm,
after your first performance.
right. And that's definitely the other half of it. But that first part of just I performed, I was super nervous. If I don't give myself a goal of doing it again, that's not really a place I wanted to be. So I said it out loud so that I could be held accountable. And I said, let's do this next year. So that's one half. And then the second half is what you were leading into. I just saw it's like, yeah, the writing the music is fun. And as fun as it was for us to perform, it was super fun for people just to show up and hang out. And like I knew the quality of the music that we were putting on wasn't like crazy for everyone to be getting
Mm-hmm.
crazy for. But I mean, honestly, people just take any excuse to get up and just have
Get
a
crazy.
fun time. So as long as you care about it and you care not just about what you perform, but the environment of the event. So then me and Jonathan agreed the next year to do it again, but that year, that year was the first year of us actually calling it Growaholic, which the inspiration behind it was the first time we performed. It was towards the end of the summer, and I like the same time. I like the time that we did it then, and I was like, hey, let's do it again at the end of the summer and make it like a. I hate the word back to school bash, but almost like a hey, like summer's over. This is a good way to close it all out and,
It's a summer
hopefully
wrap. Yeah.
inspire you or like send you off into your school year with like good memories, like right here. Because sometimes you get to the end of the summer and it's like the last week before school, it's like the lazy week or the stress week where you're getting ready. So it was a good way to be like, you get to carry memories into college because you showed up to this
Hmm.
music festival thing and very lightly use the word music festival because that year we only had our first year of we only had 3 people performing, and then this last year, which is like I said, our 6th year with Girlholic, we had around 30 performers. I
Hmm.
think we had right under 30. We had a few people drop out last minute, but that's a cool jump for the
Which,
last.
like, if that's just not 30 people who wanted that, those are the 30 people who actually performed. I
Right,
remember
yeah.
like you had a lot more people because you also had to go through this vetting process where
Hmm.
you were at because you want it to be a certain quality, a
Yeah, we
certain
had over
time to
100
fit in.
people sign up to perform this year,
Hmm.
and
That's
out
great.
of that, only 30. And I'll say 30 performers. There's way more people on stage because some people had bands, but so it's around 30 performers that was actually up on stage, and we had out of the 30 performers, like 6 of them were bands, and like a few of them were duos, and a few of them were just solo artists, and
Hmm.
all different types of genres. So it was really cool to see this year us really step it up. And one of the performers, she flew in from Texas just to perform. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Something was something that a lot of people have become interested in, and to be able to have an avenue to because you haven't mentioned this and you haven't really hit about the heart behind why you do this and why you want to offer this. So let's talk about the heart of it just a little bit. Like, why is it that you continue to do this? Like, what is the reason, the goal for Growaholic Festival?
There's a lot of goals. Um, I'd say there's a lot of different goals that go behind it. Um, one of the ones that was that starting fuel that's gotten it that's definitely played a big part in getting it to where it's at today is that when I was writing, there's just not a lot of there's not a lot of places to perform if you're gonna write a specific
Mm-hmm.
type of genre. So if you do country or more like indie or acoustic singer-songwriter, like you can play it like a bar, like a coffee shop, I guess. And now I lean towards writing a few songs in that genre. But at the time I was writing indie alternative pop songs. And so if you're not gonna be playing at a bar, a coffee shop, or a church, like maybe you're at worship music, there was really not a place for people like that to perform. So I had a feeling in the area, as we performed the first year, you realize, oh wow, like a lot of people write music, but a lot of people don't have it on Spotify, or a lot of people don't really perform their music.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to get up and perform, as nervous as I was, I'm sure there's other people in the area that would like to go up and perform. So, yeah, one of the big visions for it is just to give local artists a place and a no pressure environment, a very supportive environment, supportive because you're performing alongside other artists who are new and have yet to really get a stage performance in, but also supportive because the people who show up are just excited to hear new music. And it's really cool because you'll have some artists have come out of this event and they're collaborating with each other, collaborators with other artists that also perform. And then you have some people who they'll show up to hear this one artist, and then all of a sudden they hear 4 other artists that are now on their Spotify playlist. So there's a lot of really cool things about why we do it, and there's a lot of really cool things also tied to where we're taking it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of just to summarize and just talk about what you said is one of the primary reasons for having it is to be able to provide an opportunity for people to perform their music,
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of opportunities for them, whether that be coffee house or a bar. They're not
Mhm.
necessarily the best venues per se for every single genre either. So
Right.
even if you have the opportunity to maybe be able to book a gig at one of those places, your music might not even be the style that they're looking for to have there. So
Mhm.
you then become restrained genre wise in order to be able to fit that within the parameters of these venues that you do it. So you either have those opportunities or you have the chance of maybe putting it out on social media, which I
Mhm.
guess that is also a performance, and just hope to get discovered by somebody that will maybe, if you beg them enough, allow you to open up for them on like a tour or like an event. So
Mhm.
this music festival is very much a median ground where you are providing a space for them to be able to you're basically letting them unlock their own creativity, right? So you're not putting them in a box per se. You want to make sure that
Mhm.
they are vetted, that they're good, that they know what they're talking about, and they can actually do the thing, right? But you let them almost have complete creative control during that thing, that they can have their own genre. You do put a restraint on, like, hey, we gotta get through the set, so we gotta limit the time that people have up there so that you can give ample time for everybody. But this is a space where you let them have creative freedom in a sense to do the genres that they want to do. And what has sprung from that is kind of a community slash culture in and of itself within Growaholic, as
Mhm.
well as a community of songwriters that this event lets them connect with each other and also collaborate, and gives them more creative ideas to be able to push this stuff out. So,
Mhm.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's just kind of what I heard from you just
Yeah.
then, and kind of the heart and the goals behind it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Now,
because
now
even if you're a small artist that gets noticed by big artists and you get the opportunity to open, because that's one thing that small artists are taking the opportunity of using TikTok to find. I mean, so many of the popular songs that you hear radio, not even the radio, but like that you just hear out and about in public and coffee shops. It's all these TikTok famous people that
mm-hmm.
uh, they work really hard to get found out, and they figure out the algorithm and all that. But still, even if you do good at that, the first time that you ever get to perform is your first time performing, and it's in front of how many hundreds of people. It's like, yeah, you can sing, and yeah, you can play piano, and you can practice that in your alone time all you want, but there's no opportunities to be able to practice your stage performance and to get up there and feel confident when you get up on stage, because if it's either going to be on a stage like ours, a coffee shop, or which just don't really give that same feel, same opportunity, or it can be in front of 500, 6,000,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's going to be your first time. That would be like so overwhelming for some people. I know it'd be overwhelming for me. So having something like this, that's um, I don't want to say more casual, but is more catered to that growth, which is
Yeah.
again, Growaholic is all about. We call it Growaholic because one of our slogans is addicted to living. So it's about
Mm-hmm.
learning your strengths, learning your weaknesses, and growing and progressing in your talent and all of the above. So,
Yeah. Now I'm gonna push back against you a little bit, and then I'm going to um, answer for you, kind of type deal. So there is a place where you typically, if you're into songwriting or you're into performing, you have had a sense of music, and you have some sort of music in your background typically. So whether that is like what you did is you grew up in youth band, right? So you would play and you got used to playing with people, and what that is for you, a
hmm
performance, a Sunday morning worship band type deal, or even like within your school, like a marching band or drumline or something like that. Usually people have some sort of experience either through their school and or their church. But being a solo performer and being the lead is something that is a completely different it's completely different from you just being a part of a thing. So when you are
hmm
actually going forward and presenting your own, hey, this is my music, this is what I have made. So you have a
hmm
sense of like, oh my goodness, is this going to suck or is this not going to suck?
All right.
Because this is your baby. This is something that you have made. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
just something that somebody else has composed or arranged that you just participate in. This is something where it's your baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is you putting it out there and saying, hey, is this worthy of the world's attention type of
Right.
deal? And then on top of that, having to worry about your stage presence or performance. So it's not just the song; it's also how you interact during the song.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is such an important festival, important idea that lets you explore those avenues in a
Mm-hmm.
way that's not really super high pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we can go ahead and move on just a little bit. So let me ask you this. So as far as the festival goes, has there been any sort of like standout moments that have happened either with, I guess, your own performances during the thing or just overall as an event where you're just like, man, this is why I do this. This is why I do what I do. Because I know the last 2 years you've had multiple festivals and you've had two different festivals at two different locations, and this year I think you're planning on having a third, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's been some positive feedback towards you. There's obviously some stuff that you like continuing to do this, that you're actually expanding, and it's going to be having one in Beaufort area again, Cleveland, Tennessee, and then as well as hopefully getting you down here at Macon, Georgia, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
present and be able to have an opportunity for people to perform their music here. Like, what are some standout moments that just push you forward, that help you just like, yeah, this is why I do this?
Yeah. Um, there definitely are several. I'm trying to think of one that's the lights aren't going to turn off on me. um, every year since we've been doing it, I'll hit seasons, and I'm sure this is true for anyone who's doing something a little different than normal. It's like I'll just be thinking to myself, and it's like, this is like stupid. Like, I'm not going to do it this year. Like, this is going to be the last year. Like, I'm just going to cancel it last minute because no one really cares. No one's involved. Um, and and that's even been like this year. It's like you hit certain phases where it's just like it's such an uphill thing until the day of the performance. And then there's also highlights along the way that fit into this category of reasons why we do it. And that's why it's important to have like a big vision for it, a vision that changes each year with it. We'll have meetings with our team and we'll say, okay, well, what didn't we like this year? What did we like this year? So we're making sure that that all of the movement isn't just simply in having the event,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of movement and how do we make it better? And behind the scenes, there's a lot of movement. And that's one thing that's helped out a lot is when we started it, we just had less moving parts. So each year as we would have it, I don't know, it just felt like we were just more in the motions than we are now. So that's one thing that I've noticed. But then also we had somebody send us in when you apply for the festival, applications aren't up right now, but we're getting ready to open it up probably towards the end of March,
Mm-hmm.
um, for our August show at least. You have to submit 3 of your songs as an audio file. You have to submit some lyric sheets for those songs, and then, you have to send us, like, one, uh and some artists don't have it, but you'd be surprised at how many do. You have to send us, like, a video of you performing so that we can see not to judge the stage presence, but just to get a better understanding where you're at, so we can schedule and get a good gauge of the type of performers that we have. Um, and this one girl, she performed this year, but she sent me her video, and I just saw her up there, like her and her guitar, and it was like her and her guitar just against the world, just singing like a song that she wrote that you could tell she spent so much time into, and even time to that practice, and that was just, I don't know, it was super cool. Um, yeah,
Getting
it was
to
just
be able
super.
to see people do what they love,
Hmm.
especially when you've been I guess, cultivating this dream, this idea, this song
Yeah.
over months, probably having poured quite literally blood, sweat, and tears into this thing in your own
Mhm.
time to be able to present that to,
Right.
and I'm going to say the world, but it is really you're presenting it out to the public for public opinion,
Mhm.
right? And I know you've really created a culture of at these events that's very supportive, that's very like
Yeah.
into um, supporting the local artists,
Mhm.
and to be able to put their stuff out there, to so be able to present this to the world for the first time in this
Mhm.
space that you have provided. This something is just, I mean, I can see why that's just like gets you right here every time. You're just like, man, this
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, that we're able to help people chase their dreams and to pursue that. That's really cool because people to see a video like that and to think, wow, people would trust people are trusting me, even if they don't realize that's what they're doing, but like that people are trusting me to, you know, be able to support that and help that. It's really cool. And then another one would be there's this one guy, he's been to like probably all of the festivals, but he's never performed yet. And each year it finishes, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna perform, I'm gonna do it." And just life stuff comes up, I guess. And
Yeah,
but every year I was like, "When are you gonna perform? When are you gonna perform?" And this year was like his first year. This past August, I could say this year, but
yeah,
2024 in August was his first time performing, and he did cover stuff. He's actually gonna perform one of his original songs this upcoming year, but he did cover songs, and I don't know. It's like it was cool seeing someone making it to the other side. Like they showed up to the festival so many years, and that now they're on the stage doing it, and it's just really cool. They did so good, and yeah, that was really fun to see. Just to I know root them on, and to be in the audience for that moment, just to get hype for it was really cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just kind of moving on to more of the songwriting aspect. Um, so I'm going to ask you, as a songwriter, just a few questions about songwriting. So, what are kind of some of the biggest challenges you think that songwriters might face, in particular, sharing their work? So, I know that's like a leap that you try to help them get over with this Growaholic Festival, and this is a way for you to be able to alleviate that pressure in sharing their work. But what do you think are the challenges that people just face in general when they're about to present their song?
Oh man, that's a big question.
It is. Well, let's just kind of talk about like this. For instance, this guy that's been you've been trying to get up there for a while, and he finally said yes. What do you think is like the thing that was holding him back about the most? Is it just the fear of presenting that to the world, thinking that you're not good enough, or
Um, yeah, I don't know if I know. I mean, there's nerves to it, I guess. But you have some people it's their first time performing and it blows you away, and then you have some people it's their first time performing, and you can tell they're nervous. But I think if they could see a video of them performing compared to how they thought they did in their head, then they would be surprised that, oh wow, I did much better than I thought I did. Um, yeah, I don't know if I can specifically speak to for other artists because you have so many different genres. Just like performing, uh, like hip hop rap, which we have a few of those, is going to be completely different than doing like uh, acoustic. I think I don't know. I don't really know because I know one guy. I've tried to get him to perform, and and man, he just released an album. I need to text him this. We talk a little bit, but it's mainly just about music stuff. But he just released an album, and like the whole album um, was like the same message. Like it was about the same thing. And each song, of course, you can listen to separately. But the whole album, like he really thought a lot about it, and even if he didn't put any thought into it, it was still really impressive because it was such a cohesive thought throughout the whole songs, and you could tell he really cared about each song that he and each lyric that he sang. And I've tried to get him to perform. He'd be one of our Cleveland artists. Um, but that's just I don't know. He just said that's not why he does it. He doesn't do it to perform. So I think there's some people out there that just don't want to perform, not because of nerves or anything. They just it's not. He just writes to write, and I don't know if he makes it big one day. Maybe he'll change his mind. Um, but there's that, and then there's also with the event, there's just a lot of precautions that just people are taking in general. But this doesn't just go for our performers; it goes for people who attend the event. It's like we've been doing it for a while, but it's not like Coachella. There's not, you know, there's only so much we can do to advertise and promote for the event, and that's one thing that we make sure that we're always doing is taking photos and videos of the event so we can post it on our social media and people can really get a good idea of what the event is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think some of it's just doing it because there's very few artists that we've had that performed once and then didn't come back the next year.
Yeah.
Um, there's a few that have. I don't want to say there's very few, but there's not very few, but there's very few that do for such a specific reason. Like you'll have some people that just live far away, and or now they're performing at our Cleveland festival, so they don't aren't showing up to our August one, so they're still performing. You have some people who aren't performing because um, they've got like some kind of travel deal. So like there's
Mm-hmm.
two people in specific that they're doing more recording, they're doing more performing, so they've kind of got um, what they were looking for in the opportunity, and the schedules don't line up. And you have other people that I guess they just I don't know, they just got nervous and didn't want to give it a second shot. They didn't like the performance side of it. But like I said, my first performance, terrible, awful.
Well,
I was
I
just
think
behind the
there
piano the entire
is.
time.
I think there is a sense of when you are a creative person, and I know all three of us brothers, we're pretty creative in one sense or the other. Songwriting is not particularly my forte. My wife is really good at it. She can pump out songs like nobody's business. She just has problems with chords, and then she leaves it up to me to write the chords, and then I never write the chords for her, so that she gets upset because I don't help push her stuff out for it. But I think there is a sense of taking a pride in what you do, as in you are writing this for yourself because you like it. You don't want to necessarily please anybody else. So I think there is a sense of having to jump over jump over that, I don't know, necessarily barrier or hurdle from the side of I'm doing this for me because I like it, to also I think a realizing of, hey, this could be something that other people are looking for, that other people like. And I'm not saying that they have to listen to mine, but hey, why not have this open as an avenue for them to, maybe they get something from it. Maybe they understand my creativity. And I think that's a hurdle almost every single person has to do, just creativity wise. Whether it is writing, whether it is, I guess, songwriting, or even podcasts, posting stuff on social media at the end of the day, right? There's the sense of you posting a photo on social media and being like, oh my goodness, are people going to like this or not like it? So I think there
Hmm.
is um, that hurdle you had to jump through of being okay if the world responds in a negative way. Like that's the sacrifice that you will have to make with creativity. But it's a
Hmm.
lot easier to do that when you're behind a phone, behind, I think, a computer camera, whatever this is,
Hmm.
compared to actually going out there and being exposed. And I guess having the thought of, hey, I could get booed, right?
Hmm.
They could literally boo me off the stage. But I know you've done really good at cultivating a community where I don't think y'all have booed anybody quite yet. There's been a
Hmm.
few people that I probably would have booed going to these places, but that's just because I work behind stage and I gotta grab the guitars and help run the sound. And there's nothing like with musical artists trying to figure out how to talk to the sound guy because they just don't know how. So I'm
Hmm.
like, why not just mute this during the set then? But that's my payback. quote unquote. But I think that is that sense of having to sacrifice this to the world and show them that,
Mhm.
hey, like they might not like it and they might kill it, and my desire to be able to go forward and do this more.
Yeah, and one reason I probably don't know the answer to the question is because I don't let the artists, um and something I didn't mention earlier, which is in the visions of the event, is I wanted to be an event that finds people and asks them to perform, not just it's a little different now because we're trying to get a lot of people in, but how many people is performing at the event and they're just like, "Hey, I have a friend that performs." So then we reach out to them. To me, that's a
Mm-hmm.
big deal to be able to
Word
be
of
the
mouth.
venue that
Mm-hmm.
reaches out to them to perform. Um, but then to go back to answer why I probably don't know the answer to that previous question is because I don't really allow the artist to get into the spiral of their reasoning why they're nervous to perform.
Mm-hmm.
There's nerves behind it, but my go-to, and not just the event, but my go-to response to hesitation is, um, what is going to change? Like if they're like, I don't want to perform this year. Usually the go-to is I'll do it next year. What I ask them back is, what's going to change between this year and next year that's going to make you more comfortable on that stage, and why can't you do that in the next 2 months?
Mm-hmm.
So it's giving them like a realistic lineup of, I'm just simply too afraid, which would be the only realistic response of, nothing's going to change. I'm not going to be able to perform until some magical thing happens to where I can get over it. But sometimes that just puts it into perspective for some people. It's like, oh, it's like you're right. Like there's not really anything that we can do to change it, and that's something we ask ourselves as we put in the festival. So we used to have it in a smaller room, smaller venue, and we had the opportunity to do it in a bigger space, and that was scary because the amount of people that showed up the previous year, probably not enough to fill up that space, and we're still filling it up to this day. It's not as packed out. We're not so packed out that we're worried about finding a new one. It's great for the size of the crowd that we have, but it was too congested that year, and we were talking about it in a meeting, and I was like, I think we need to move it. I didn't really know why I thought we needed to move it, and then everyone's just like, I think we should keep it this year and then move it next year. And then I said the same question that I say to artists to us. I said, well, what are we gonna do differently between now and next year that's gonna justify us not being able to do it this year? Like what's gonna change between this year and next year? Because I think we have this unrealistic expectations of a year from now something's gonna magically
Mm-hmm.
take place and we're gonna be better. But it's like, okay, if that is your excuse, then give me your argument. Why? What's going to change a year from now? Like, and if you have a response, yeah, you got a response. Um, I just don't have a lot of music written. Okay, so you're saying that you're going to write some more songs. Yeah. You don't think you can write a few songs within now and then? No, that's too much time. Okay, well, that makes sense. But for the most part, people just use that not as a cop out. Well, I guess maybe it's a cop out. They just don't know it's a cop out. So then
Yeah.
we ended up having the uh, having Growaholic in that bigger space that year because I was just like, I don't think there's anything that I'm going to be able to do between this year and next year that's going to make me any more comfortable than doing it. So we just need to go ahead and do it now, even though it's uncomfortable. Um, I just think that was the right move. So yeah,
Well, I think that
yeah,
is pretty profound. That like I know a lot of people typically do like to give the excuse of like and just put it off. And if you start to put it off even for just a little bit, then there's not really a definite amount of time where you won't continuously and definitely put that off, right?
hmm,
So I think it's really um, cool that you yourself are able to one apply that to your own self as far as the festival goes. Why would I put off something to the next year if I can't do it today? Like, why not go
right,
ahead and do and take the steps that we need
hmm,
to go there? And it's easy to look at an event and say, hey, you know what? Um, we'll just do this next year just cause. It's like, well, what are the steps that we would need to take to get to that place? And
right,
evaluate where you're at now. All right, why can't I take those steps already this
hmm,
year?
right,
Now, if those steps are impossible to be able to get to, and the distance is too far for you to make it within those months, I think it
hmm,
is wise to be able to push that back. But just to be able to lay out those steps in the first place, and to be able to
hmm,
help artists look and say, hey, you know what? Like, there's not going to be a difference between this year and next year if you're just saying what you're telling me right now, and be able to help them get through that. And then also, like I said again, providing a space for them to be able to do that. That's not really high stakes on their part,
Mm-hmm.
like a make it break it. Like, this is your one shot, one opportunity. There is a sense of, yes, you want to perform well, but that's not necessarily going to revoke them an invitation for the next event that they can be at with Growaholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is cool that you're able to talk to them and be the person there that's helping encourage other songwriters, other artists, because I think whether or not you realize it, I think you probably had a hard time answering the question that I had asked you prior about songwriters and having to jump over leaps and hurdles with that. Is you're actually the person that helps them be able to do that. So you've not seen a lot of people being able to back out per se, or have that fear. Is because you're continually there, pushing them
Mm-hmm.
forward and helping them do the thing that they want to do and get to where they want to be. Um, and even talking about with the impact that this has had on songwriters' lives and what you've seen. We talked about this a little bit, and you hit this a little bit, but I know you mentioned prior that you had people that have gone on to bigger things, like they've already taken the step that you have provided, which was useful for them to be able to step onto the next phase, whether that's touring or recording, which is awesome. So I don't know if you want to just talk a little bit more about that impact, and that's the goal necessarily that you have for everybody to be able to go through, or if you help them to be able to get there in any sort of way.
So specifically asking what?
Specifically, just saying like, hey, what are the impacts that you have seen from this festival, and how are you going to be able to help songwriters be able to get to that next place? Or if you haven't even thought that you might not even have an avenue to be able to help them get to the next place.
No, no, I do. Like how we talked about, there's a lot of things that go into it now that's exciting, but then a lot of things that are going to be going into it in the future. I'd love to get it to where um, the festival gets a little bit more of a reputation for not just music, but for like art in general. We've talked, and this is, I guess, a sneak peek for some people. I have no idea how long it's going to take us, but we've talked about having like an art gallery
Mm,
at the festival where people can display their painting and to just tap into more than just music and more um, than just songwriting, but even like writing. We have an MC, but maybe having like a skit or some kind of spoken word in between sets just to make it all around. And even some of our team members, like our photography team, we've had several people who were looking to get started on their portfolio and they wanted, they heard about the event and they were like, oh, hey, like, what do we need to do to come take photos? Like, is that okay? How much do we have to pay? And I'm just like, just come in here for free. Like, we'll help each other out.
mm-hmm,
You do this, I do that, and it'll work out. So as we build our reputation, it'll help build other artists' reputation. And the goal of the festival isn't to get big enough in order to like afford like Taylor Swift or a
mm-hmm,
big Kendrick Lamar. Like, it's not the goal of the event isn't to have big names associated in order to discover the small names, but it's so specifically catered towards um, just anyone, no matter what your genre is. Like I said, we have rap, we have so many different genres come and take place and perform, and so the goal, and I guess the hope is to one day uh, have a little bit more of a reputation to where you'll have scouts come and
mm-hmm,
producers and all of them show up and listen to the music. And that's one thing that we say to the artists even today. It's as songwriters, there's usually two or three things that everyone's not everyone, but two or three things that naturally you're going to be good at as a songwriter. And some people have weaknesses in songwriting. Is it you good at lyrics? Are you good at um, writing? Are you good at thinking of a cool melody? Are you good at producing? Because a lot of people like they write music because they like producing, and since no one else will let them produce, they'd rather produce something, so they write their own music.
mm-hmm,
Some people are poets, but they like to sing. So, or some people just like to sing. They're not good at anything. They just want to get up there and sing.
Hmm.
So they'll perform cover songs. But um, I tell all the artists that you don't know who will have like a meeting before the festival starts, and I say you have no idea who in this room might help you get to the next step just here in this room, because some of you are really good at producing and some of you suck at producing. So maybe the ones who aren't that good at producing meet the ones who are good at producing, and you can take the next step together. So it's not, I would say, an unrealistic expectation, not something that we're not already doing, but something that I would love to one day do on a larger scale. Is just to be like a almost like a showcase of local talent in different areas, and uh and yeah. So that's kind of an answer without giving away too many spoilers.
All right. So let me just ask you this. This is going to be kind of the last question, just related to songwriting, and then we'll wrap up here in a second. But what advice, particularly, would you give to someone who wants to write songs, or they've written a song and they want to maybe write more songs, but doesn't necessarily know where to start or where to go? We touched that a little bit on the beginning, but if you could give them a nice little packet of a plan, what would that be?
One of the first ones that wouldn't be cliche at all. I've never heard anyone say this. No one told me this. It's just having been writing for for so long. The first thing I tell young artists is it doesn't matter how self-aware you are or how stupid you think the song is. If you have the idea for it, finish it as soon as possible, because there's so many songs that I wrote and I recorded on voice memos that just like a melody in my head. Um, and even if it's like a weird like cultural kind of sounding, like I had this one song where it's like violins and like a bunch of like Middle Eastern instruments. I guess I just heard a song or something. I just started recording it and I didn't finish it, and I regret it so much. Not one reason is because when you're first starting, people are a lot more courteous towards you. So I would never be able to release it ever now, because
Mm-hmm.
people would be so confused.
Like, what is this? What is happening?
People would be so confused. So, but if you release it earlier, it's just like, okay, he like they're still figuring it out. What's cool is that they heard it and they record it. So that's one half of that. But then the other half of that is the melodies don't leave your head. So I've got songs that I wrote 10 years ago and it's just super stupid. So I never finished it. And then I'll just be in like the shower, just walking, you know, through town, and I'll just be humming the stupidest melody. And it's just like, oh, I really wish I would have just finished it so I could just put it to rest. Cause sometimes, and I still sing songs that I even songs you finish, you can get stuck in your head sometimes. But there's some songs that's like, I'm never writing you, get out of my head. So
Why are you still here?
right. So I tell people, just it doesn't matter how stupid you think the song is. I encourage you, just put stupid lyrics with it and call it a day. Like try to just finish writing. So that's something I would have for songwriters to do.
So go ahead and finish the idea out. Let's go ahead and flesh this entire thing out. Get it on paper, whether it's dumb or not. Finish it. If you need to fix it or edit it later, you can do that. But
hmm
at least you have a cohesive thought and idea on paper.
Yeah, yeah. Because one fear that would be for songwriters, you write out a melody and you love it. I wrote out this one melody one time, and I was like, "Wow, that's really cool." And then all of a sudden I hear the same song in like a movie. And I was like, "Oh, I must have heard that song on like a trailer or something." It's like you don't consciously do it, but you'll hear a melody and you're like, "Oh, I love that melody." And because subconsciously you'll love it and then you'll start writing it. So to be able to just get it out, so you're not holding on to an idea that's like perfect and, oh, well, that's actually already a song. That's scary, especially for a new songwriter. Um, and then also a big fear, one of mine is I love this melody, but the lyrics just aren't good enough for it. And what if one day, what if I finish the melody and 10 years from now, I think of a better set of lyrics for that melody than what is actually what's actually on there. And
Mm-hmm.
there's, I guess, some truth to that, but also you're if you're if you're realistically going to be doing this for that long, then that means you're good enough to write better melodies. Because I have some songs like that where I have the melodies great. Oh my goodness, best thing I've ever written. But I don't write the lyrics for it. And looking back 10 years, from that moment, it's like I've got so much better melody lines than that. So don't be afraid to attach your favorite melody that you've ever written to some lyrics because you think, oh, the lyrics will be more
Mm-hmm.
impactful, or I could figure something else out. Like just write, seriously, just write. Um, yeah.
Good deal. Just get it out. Just do it now. I think one of the hard part about starting is just do it. Just start. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Nike. Just do it. Just start it. Just get it out. It's not
Right.
going to be the best right away. That's what I encourage with my youth band that especially that I have on Wednesday nights. Is
Mm-hmm.
one of the things is like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Like, well, let's just get up here and just get it done. Let's just go ahead and do the thing first,
Right.
and have it in a space where you're able to be allotted to just be able to push that thing out to be able to do that thing, which is what you're
Right.
doing with this
Yeah.
festival. So, um, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's next for the festival. Do you have any exciting plans for the future, or even personally? So, what do you have planned next, festival wise, or for yourself?
Oh, we haven't had this year's meeting, and but one thing that we're doing this year is we're doing one in Macon, so we're adding locations to it. So we're reaching different groups of people. Um, but yeah, I mean, and there's not a whole lot that we're changing. We had a lot of changes last year, um, and this year is more of a repeat year, and you'll have that too. It's some years are like the big years for change, and you do all this, you do all that, but then some years it's just all right. It's a maintaining. Like if we can't do it twice, then maybe we should switch it up a little bit. So this year is going to be more of repeating. Can we do it twice? I'd like to have I'd like to have different locations for the same. And when I say locations, it's confusing because we have it at different locations on different dates. But a lot of festivals, you'll see multiple artists performing at the same time. And as we get more and more artists, I'd like to have a show going on here, but then also a show going on in this other location. So you have like a diverse a campus
Mm-hmm.
of places where it's performing. So the festival's going on simultaneously, and you have that many people performing, and to also get it up to 3 days. Right now we're at 2 days. We did that. We made that call last year. We're still going to do 2 days again this year, unless I guess we have just a crazy amount of artists signing up. But I think the a cool goal would be to eventually um, have two people singing at the same time in two different locations. Would
Mm-hmm.
be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I know you've mentioned that before in the past. So personally, I know you've mentioned that you're trying to get at least a song off of Spotify. Is it this next year? Like, what's your plans for that as far as Philip songwriting goes?
I uh, I gotta be careful what I'm saying because some of these people follow me on Instagram. I um I reached out to a f- to s- to someone I follow um because they have music on Spotify and they're incredible at songwriting, and um it's one thing to be incredible at songwriting, but then to release a song on Spotify and it just sounds so good. Like I could add it to a playlist. And that's something that people are really quick to add it on Spotify. And I think that's good. I'd probably say do as I say, not as I do to some people. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely recommend putting your music on Spotify as soon as possible because people hear. But for me, it's just I really want my first song on Spotify just to blend in with the rest of, not like blend in like music wise, but sound and quality wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a whole lot of people that release music on Spotify that's like that. And that's where it's like I feel terrible saying this because, like I said, I got some of these people following me on Instagram, so it's just like I'm not saying your music sounds like trash. But I had this one person that I know, and my goal was to reach out to them and then have them kind of help me out because that's how I am. It's like if I do it, I want you to ask me how I did, and I want to help you because life's hard enough. And it's like you shouldn't have to go through the same process that I went through. Let me help you skip some steps so you can get there faster. And I was hoping that that person would be like that, but they like answered like 2 questions and then left me on red for the next few because I was trying to figure out who produces their music and where they go and what techniques they use, and they like maybe they're just not on Instagram a lot, so I'll give them that. But yeah,
They're
I
actually
was
on the live stream right now. It's
I
killing
was
me.
more excited. I was excited this year. I thought for sure come February that was one of my goals is to reach out to this person and go through those avenues and get something recorded,
Hmm.
but that dried up. So um, I don't know if this year is going to be the goal to do it just because we're getting closer to Growaholic and I'll have more time focused on that. And I'm still writing, but as far as getting something on Spotify, um, we'll see. I'm still praying about it, so I'm sure it'll happen in God's timing. But yeah, the avenue I was expecting to take for this to be a possibility this year didn't work out. So if you're watching this on live, you did it to yourself. I didn't say your name, so oh well.
Oh well. All right. So how can people get involved with Growaholic Festival?
You can go and follow our Instagram. We announce everything there. We have the dates up. I don't know if we have the dates up, but we have the locations up on our bio. I want to say we have the dates up, but then you can click the link on our bio and it will take you to like the photo booth from previous years so you can see um, if you see yourself on that stage, you can look to see, oh, hey, that looks really fun. I'd love to perform. Um, Help calm that anxiety down a little bit. And then also we'll open up artist registration for our next one, which will be um, in Macon, and it's going to be in the next few months. And then depending on your location, if you're closer to Macon, sign up for Macon. If you're closer to Cleveland, Tennessee, sign up Cleveland, Tennessee. If you're closer to Beaufort, Georgia, then sign up for that one. We've been doing Beaufort, Georgia for the longest, so it's the biggest amount of people, and this is our first year doing Macon, so a little bit of a smaller crowd to be expected this year. So yeah, you sign up, follow us on Instagram, and we'll notify you whenever artist registrations are open. But then also, if you're in the area, we do advertising and stuff for the event too on Facebook and Instagram. So you might just
Hmm.
see it pop up on your phone, whether you give us a follow or not. So yeah,
Yeah, you might be targeted if you're listening to this.
yeah,
What's the ats in your website?
I'm pretty sure it's just at Growaholic Fest. We can put it in the comments of this. I'm sure, or even pop up on the
Hmm.
screen. I'm not sure of the
Oh,
capabilities.
I'll share the live stream on Instagram, and I'll tag both of
Yeah,
your
but it's just
personal
simply
page and Growaholic.
it's just Growaholic Fest. So grow and then aholic AHOLIC and then fest. One word. No underscores, no dashes, no nothing, just at Growaholic Fest. So yep. And then we have our all of our different locations, no dates posted yet, but dates soon to be posted.
All right, well, go make sure to go follow Philip if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this and just keeping up about what he's doing, what Growaholic's doing at Growaholic Fest, and then both follow him personally on his page at PF88 Keys is what your user
Yep.
still is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
PF88
it.
Keys on Instagram, Philip Frady. We can keep up with you on socials to see the stuff that you're doing and just hear a little bit more about this Growaholic Festival. And if you're in the area, one of these areas, even just to come out to go support, go see it, go be able to have fun and see what this is about, I encourage you to go. I'll be here at the Macon one and probably at the Beaufort one. But we'll see for the Cleveland, Tennessee one. Anyone that's at any of these events, encourage you to go enjoy, participate, get some snacks, go have some fun with music, just jamming out with everybody and just being in the area. So thank you for tuning in to Let's Be True today. We're just, as always, we just sit through and talk about different topics about things that matter, things that have meaning about it, and just being as truthful as possible and conveying what we know and be able to share that, be able to help you with your songwriting, with being able to participate in music festival if that's what you want to do. So thank you, Philip, for joining us today. Unlike you had much of a choice because I about twisted your arm.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll go ahead and thank you